All right, so I'm leaving Duncannon this morning. Kind of a cloudy, cool morning. It's going to be really good for hiking, I think. No rain predicted. And I just thought I'd show you that occasionally the trail goes right through these towns. We're just going through a residential street that's just off of their main street. And we're going to cross two rivers in a few minutes, and one's the Susquehanna, and then we're going to climb back up on the ridge, which is what you do really in Pennsylvania, is you stay on top of these ridges, and occasionally you drop down into a gap or into a low spot where there's a town or something. And the ridges are pretty flat. You can see the ridge out there in the distance. I'll be up there. And they're generally flat. Yesterday's hike was remarkably flat. The fear of bad rocks did not materialize. And it was a pretty easy day, actually. And today we're going to do the same. Going to climb up on the ridge and hopefully have a reasonable footpath and make some progress north. So I'll check back in. Well, this is my third or fourth or fifth day in Pennsylvania. As you know, we've been worrying about rocks, and they haven't really materialized much. We've had some very significant areas of rocks, but today has been a remarkably easy day in terms of the trail. And what you're seeing now is what I've seen all day. The good news is the grade has been very flat and rolling. We only had one pretty good climb, and that was on a very nice trail that brought us up on an old road in a very gradual way. And other than that, we've had this same trail all day, so it's been a little boring. There's very little to see. You can see the vegetation is very close to the trail. Some places I can't even use my poles, and like right in here it gets really narrow. Hard to use your poles. So it's a pretty day, as you can see, and the weather's been kind, and the temperature is on the cool side. It was low 50s this morning, very good sleeping weather. And it's probably in the 60s now, so it's very nice. But we don't have much to see or do, so really have to use this time to, as some people say, use my mind time effectively. So I've been trying to do that and keep my eye out for rocks and snakes. I've seen two black snakes right across the trail, both about 5 or 6 feet long, just in the last hour. So next time I'll try to get this out and you can see one of these snakes, but so far no rattlesnakes. So again, this is what the day's been like, and the good news is the trail's nice and it's pretty flat grade. The bad news is it's fairly monotonous. So that's all for now. All right, so where I'm going is just straight ahead. Not sure you can see it yet, but the pathway is completely flooded with running water. I'm gonna walk up there and show it to you if you can see it. You can see it now. Goes on for at least 20-30 yards, and I don't know how much farther. Which we've got it looks like is some beavers have dammed up this area. Got this here, and it's flooded this whole area. You see those ferns, and that's not natural. This must have happened fairly recent. You can see under the water is grass, so this must have happened fairly recently. Over here, it's all flooded as well, and all of this here. So there's absolutely no way around it. You go here, it's running water. So, but we have camp shoes, and so I have taken off my hiking shoes, put on my camp shoes, and we're just gonna have to walk right through this. Many days you wouldn't care about getting your shoes wet, but it's been a beautiful day. Everything I have is dry. I think this is a temporary problem, so I'm going to trudge through this with my camp shoes on, which are like Crocs, and switch them out when we get to some dry pavement. Well, I'm in it now, and try to give you a little more idea of what this is like. You can see it's 4, 5, 6 inches of water and almost a foot in some places. But I can see, whoa, I can see some dry path up there. And we'll just swap these out in a minute. Here we are. Okay, back on dry land. Have to put my hiking shoes on. Well, I said there's an awful lot of green tunnel in Pennsylvania, and we don't get many views. But here's one, and one of the real typical views we get of the central Pennsylvania farmland. So, had a cloudy day today. Cool, been good for hiking. You can see the sun's trying to come out. I think we're gonna have good weather the rest of the week. But here is a classic view from the trail of central Pennsylvania. Okay, we're still in Pennsylvania. Another pretty good day. A little bit warmer, but we've got some spring here, and bugs are out. But thought I'd show you a little bit of this when I didn't have to worry about my footing as much. Good news is that we still haven't run across many of the infamous Pennsylvania rocks that I've been worrying about. I still know they're coming. We've had a lot of paths like this one that's very nice and smooth, and most of the hiking in Pennsylvania has been on ridge tops, and often you have to dip down into these gaps like at Port Clinton where I just left. And every time you drop down, you have to get back up. But other than that, you're often on the ridge for quite some time. Much easier hiking than down in Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and even Virginia. So in that sense, it's been nice. The bad news is that it's very full of vegetation, and this green tunnel, there's hardly any views, and there's not very much of interest to see while you're hiking. So, as I think I've said before, we need to get through this part of Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and use this time, hopefully, to work on some of the things I wanted to do with my mind time, reflections, and actually working on my novel and some things like that. So as you see, there's just very little to look at other than vegetation very close in on the trail. So since I have my stick pick back and I got a new tip for my pole. I can use this, and gave you a chance to look at my thinner mug. I've lost over 40 pounds and feel good. Probably will lose some more, but all's well. Feet are good and knees are good, and still trying to prepare mentally to get through the difficult rocks that I still expect to see up ahead. So not a whole lot to report other than that, other than things are good. I will say last night I had a special treat. My friend Keith Nix was in the area and took me to dinner. Keith is a headmaster at Veritas in Richmond, and really great to see him and hear all the great things that are going on with Veritas, and I look forward to being involved with that when I get off the trail. So that's the latest news, and today is a Friday, and on Sunday I've got my good friend Rob Smith coming out to join me for 2.5, 3 days of hiking, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So we'll report back a little bit later. Thanks. Okay, we've talked about the Pennsylvania rocks a lot and how I've been waiting to get to them and worrying about getting to them. And today, I think I've gotten to them. And it's very hard to show you this while you're going through the rocks because it requires so much concentration to land on these rocks or land between them and keep going forward. So I'm going a little extra slow just to show it to you, but you just have to work your feet through different ways over the rocks. Sometimes you stay on top of the rocks and boulder hop, and sometimes you go between the rocks. These are kind of medium-sized rocks. There's at least 3 kinds of hazards out here. These kind, and I'll show you some larger ones next time I get a chance. And then ones that are also irritating are smaller rocks, baseball, football-sized rocks that are in the path. And there's so many, and they're so angular and irregular that you just can't walk without hitting a rock the wrong way with the side of your foot or stepping on top of one. So we got through that area. The path will go, this up here looks fine, but in another minute we'll probably have another rock field. So again, it's just looking back on where we've been. And sometimes, you know, you have to come through rocks like this. We haven't done it lately, but certainly had to do that. And I'll try to show you some more as we progress.